Hi, my name is David. I have GPA or Wegener's, and right now I live in New York City. I was diagnosed back in 2007, presented with very severe symptoms. It started with some ear pain, started with nasal involvement, nasal crusting, then it moved on to the lungs. Took about a month, saw many different doctors. This is when I was in University of Rochester in college. My junior year, saw a bunch of doctors at the university there, at Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester, and kind of led to me being admitted because they had no idea what was wrong with me. Presented with very bad nasal crusting, the ear pain, the lungs, and kidney involvement, really bad blood tests across the board. Took another couple weeks, a lot of different specialists saw me, pulmonary, hematology, nephrology, all had a lot to do with it. Finally, after about a week being admitted, they gave me the diagnosis of GPA, or Wegener's, as it was known at the time, it was two things. It was really great to know that they actually found out finally what it was, since I had such severe symptoms. But it was also really scary because then you had to look up everything. It was really very unfamiliar. I didn't even know what vasculitis was at all at the time. So it was great to finally put a name to it, really start to research it and talk with a lot of the doctors about the treatments at the time. So in terms of treatments, what they started me on was, prednisone burst. I think it was 1,000 milligrams, a huge burst of prednisone right away. And I felt, really much better right away from that. And then the next things we talked about were Cytoxin, the cyclophosphamide, the chemotherapy type drugs to get the immune system under control. So I went home with that after that week, kind of continuing high dosage steroids. I think I was on 80 milligrams or so. A week later, the kidneys still kept declining in terms of the blood test. So I had to come back in. I was readmitted, and then I actually was put on dialysis, put in a catheter right into my neck veins here, and started dialysis for weakening kidney function. So that was another big blow for me in the whole process. So we started that, let's see. So they released me from the hospital 2 weeks later. I continued dialysis for about a month, and then actually the kidney function, because of probably the steroid Cytoxin, started to improve. Oh, and at the same time as they started dialysis, they gave me rituximab. They gave me the new drug, Rituxan, and this was back in 2007. They were trying it for some other disease. They really didn't try it much for Wegener's at that point, but it was a research hospital, and a couple different doctors there. I know Jennifer Analik was one of my main doctors that kind of said, they're starting to try this. I got 2 doses of it, one week after the other. I really felt like that kind of did the trick. So I was released again. Then I was doing much better over the course of the summer, tapered down the steroids. Again, they kept me on Cytoxan throughout the summer anyway, just because that was the standard of care. And then, so that took from about February 2007 was the diagnosis, and then I achieved remission, clinical remission in about September. So I was on low dosage steroids, off the cyclophosphamide, and didn't have any more Rituxan. And then started Imuran, just as a maintenance kind of drug. Tapering off both Imuran and prednisone for another 6 months. And then I developed another symptom, hip pain. I ended up being diagnosed with avascular necrosis in November of 2007. So kind of the end of that year. We kind of waited for it a little bit, but then it became more serious, a lot of pain in both my hips. I saw a lot of different bone and joint specialists in Rochester, New York, and ended up deciding to do bilateral total hip replacements. So both hips were replaced the following summer. After finishing up college, I was able to finish college at U of R, University of Rochester, and then had the hip replacements done in Albany, where I grew up, where my parents lived, and I stayed there for the summer. And actually, I was really scared about the hip replacements, but actually, they went very smoothly, and the pain went away instantly. The surgery took, a few hours. I was walking the next day and released the next day from the hospital. So I did one week, and then the left hip the week after that. And really, by the end of that summer, this is summer of 2008, I was good to go, still in remission with the Wegeners. At this point, it was very low dosage steroids, like below 5 milligrams, and just kind of very slowly tapering off. 2009, I stopped those completely, stopped Imuran completely, and I was good to go, completely in remission since beginning of 2009.
So you're in remission?
Well, I mean, obviously the doctors love it to see patients becoming involved in the research. I feel like it's definitely helps because there's so few of us that have vasculitis. I mean, Wegener's is probably the most common of the vasculitis diseases, but still there's so few people to pool from to get this data that it makes sense for everyone to really be part of these studies. Really, the Wegener's was horrible. Well, at least we figured it out and I was on drugs, so that was great. The worst part for me was when the hip pain started, and then I finally figured out I had avascular necrosis, and I was probably going to have hip replacements. That was a real low point. They prescribed some pain medications. I was on Wegener and some other drugs. Those stopped working after. They really didn't help with the pain much anymore, so it was just like really, really bad. And finally, when we decided to do the hip replacements, that was a sense of hope. I was still kind of anxious and nervous about that, but it was a little bit better after that. That was the big things, because I knew I had to have my, I knew I was having this avascular necrosis and it wasn't going to go away. I was a huge runner. I was actually MVP of my track team in high school. Like, I really liked running. I did hurdles. I was on the cross-country team. And I just ran as, you know, for health reasons. I would run at least every other day throughout college until I started getting these symptoms. And then, you know, it was just kind of a big blow and a big loss for me to you know, figure out that I wasn't really going to be able to run much. And now with the hip replacements, I can do a lot of things, but running is not really one of them. I bike a lot. I go bike riding a lot. That's much better. I know swimming is a good thing. I don't really like swimming that much, but that's another thing that they say is great now. So, and I walk a lot too, so that's fun. Actually started one of the Facebook groups for Wegener's, trying to like connect people, and it was great because I would meet some other people across the country. It's hard to meet other people like in person with the disease, so the Facebook group helped. I would tell my friends, you know, look it up. There's a good Wikipedia article that I helped edit a little bit as I learned more information, and there's great, obviously, syndicated medical articles and things like that. Just get the information across. It's a rare disease. It's an ongoing disease. There's no cure. It can go into remission, and you can look very healthy for a long period of time, as I have. But it's still kind of there, and I have to get continuous. Now it's only 6 months blood work just to check up, to make sure it's not there. But I would just say, inform people about it. And it's a frustrating process because you have to be on these drugs for a year, sometimes a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As I said, I went to the 2008, the 2010, and now this is the 2013 Vasculitis Symposium, and they've been great. You just connect with a bunch of other younger people. I know at all three of them, they had younger patient breakout sessions where we could just talk about how we dealt with it, either in middle school, high school, college, or younger years where you're still trying to fit in within a bunch of groups of people. And then with this rare disease to add on top of that, it's really tough. But the symposium has been great connecting people. You immediately connect with them because you've all been on prednisone, you've all been on these crazy drugs. And it makes it really easy.